Knowing what we know now, would you have authorized the invasion?
I would have.
Oops. Ever since Jeb Bush said that, he's been scrambling to deal with the Iraq issue. You'll remember, and this just in, his brother invaded the place. It turned into a disaster. And now Jeb doesn't know what to say about it. Here's how he tried to clarify those original comments.
I heard whatever I heard, it was translated, knowing what you knew then, what would you do? Going back in time and talking about hypothetical, what would have happened, what could have happened, I think does a disservice for them.
Good. Oops. Guess what? Today, Jeb had another answer. He just said, and this is a quote, "If we're all supposed to answer hypothetical questions, knowing what we know now, I would not have engaged. I would not have gone into Iraq." Oops. How big of a problem is Iraq going to be for Jeb Bush?
It's not just Iraq.
Well,
it's the flopping around. It's not even flip-flopping. It's just flopping. I think this is going to be a problem for him when they get to the Bush brother economic policies as well. He's got to decide whether George Bush is an asset or a liability, and he's turned him into both within a matter of 3 days. Look, even Republicans can't defend the Iraq War. Republicans can't defend the economic policies of George Bush, yet Republican primary voters kind of like him. So you've got this insoluble political problem. I think this is the first sign of how really limited his electoral possibilities are.
Let me add something to this, which is not so long ago, he said to a crowd, he thought he was off mic, he thought it was a closed room, my brother is my most trusted advisor when it comes to the Middle East. The guy who invaded Iraq. This feels like an Iraq-sized quagmire for Jeb Bush.
I mean, I think Governor Bush had a really bad couple of days. I mean, and Richard's exactly right. It's the flopping around. It wasn't even the flip-flop on it. He doesn't look ready for prime time, and he was a lot sharper than this as governor. And I don't know whether it's rust on him or he just never really went into a room with handlers and talked out these potential questions about it. I can't believe that Megyn Kelly was the one that tripped him up.
I've got a theory about this, which is psychological. In the Bush family history, as it was going to be written, Jeb was the guy who was going to run for president.
That's right.
He's viewed as smarter, more personable, with a better record. He lost an election in Florida. His brother beat an incumbent Democrat in Texas. All of a sudden, the world flip-flopped. I think there's sort of a real psychological discomfort in the Bush family with the way the political dynamic has unfolded. And I think that was sort of the way it manifested to the public. I don't mean anything critical of them as a family or as individuals. I think it's a tough situation.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about a Bush fatigue. I've been saying that I think the country probably has Bush fatigue and that's going to work against W. But a lot of Republicans say no, that's an asset.
I think it's an asset at the end of the day, and I think that, there's plenty of time for Jeb to bounce back from this, and he will sharpen as a result of this, no question. They will go into that room and they'll get it straight. But he did not look good here, and this should be a red flag for his team.
One more question on this before I move on. Let's say that it wasn't Jeb Bush having this bad couple of weeks with PR, or having flip-flop answers, or not feeling ready for prime time, as you said, not appearing ready. What if it was Hillary Clinton? What if Hillary Clinton had the kind of week, or the kind of couple of weeks that Jeb Bush has had? The knives that would be out for Hillary Clinton on something like this is...
What if pigs could fly?
No. All right. Let me ask you, Bill.
I think the knives are out for Jeb Bush as well. A lot of Republicans jumped all over him. Ted Cruz did it, and Paul did it. And
you don't think Fox News would be going 24 hours a day attacking Hillary Clinton if she had a bad, not ready for prime time?
MSNBC is going 24 hours a day against Jeb.
You can't judge the political mood of the nation based on either Fox or MSNBC.
No, I'm not suggesting that you can, but I'm saying that there does seem to be a difference in treatment. That Hillary seems to be put in the microscope a lot more. Maybe it's because there are more Republicans.
You sound like a Republican.
Maybe it's because there are more.
This is like the fight between Ranger fans
and
Washington Capitol fans.
Exactly.
Where
you get into the overtime.
You can't, and the Washington team loses, and people can't accept it.
Right.
The Washington team is who in this example? Hillary, because they're from Washington?
It doesn't matter.
Is it the Bush team?
It doesn't matter.
You have no idea what you're talking about.
We just wanted to say the Capitals.
I just wanted to say
Bill,
Capitals
let's you and I have a conversation. We'll just forget about this guy over here. No, is there a difference between how Hillary Clinton gets treated on something like this versus a Jeb Bush? Does the Bushes, it feels like, get a little more leeway?
I don't think so. I kind of laugh because traditionally it's the Republicans saying that they get beaten up and the Democrat gets gets left alone. I think Hillary does get her share of scrutiny, I've got to say. And when she ran against Barack Obama in 2008, I think he got largely a pass, and she caught a lot of flack. But Republicans get hit too, and Jeb has been a punching bag for the last 48 hours, and he will be for another 24. But this is early. He'll rebound from it. He's trying to find his footing, but it was sloppy. He should have been ready for that question.
You know, Bill, while you and I are having a conversation while there's nothing going on behind me, let's turn to the Democrats briefly if we can, because it looks like there are going to be some
we're
more.
We're going to ranger over to the Democrats.
I feel like there's a breeze coming from over here, but I can't determine who it is. It looks like former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley is going to run for president. He's making an official announcement May 30th, but in this world of announcements before announcements, he has already reportedly announced to his donors that he's got his mind made up. Bill, is Martin O'Malley a game changer on the Democratic side? What's the impact on this? Does it better for Hillary, worse for Hillary? Is this a better challenge than Bernie Sanders?
I think she needs a challenge to, I think Sanders helps her by framing her ideologically towards the center for the general election. O'Malley, I guess it sharpens her up a little bit. He really hasn't caught fire. He's walking around showing his abs now. I'm not sure that's the strategy.
Bill,
it's
over here on the other side of the ice.
No.
He's running for vice president, Bill. Tell Andrew.
You could be running for vice president.
Bernie Sanders is one of these candidates. Bernie Sanders is one of these candidates who's running for an ideology. He wants to change the discussion that's going on in the Democratic Party. O'Malley's not trying to change the discussion. He's trying to win, ostensibly, or at least he's trying to be ready in the on-deck circle in case something happens with Hillary.
Yeah, I think he's got the lead in the on-deck circle. I mean, if Hillary really stumbles, and she's going to have to stumble hard to get knocked out of that role, then sure, he'd be around, and he's a mainstream Democrat.
Dare I say close to 70 years old, and whoever the vice president is going to have something of a leg up. I assume she'll win twice and serve for 8 years, but a young, vigorous alternative is something she needs to think about.
Is Martin O'Malley hurt by what happened in Baltimore recently? How much of a hindrance is that for him? Because if the main image for what most people are thinking of for the state of Maryland right now are the Baltimore riots, is that bad for Martin O'Malley?
The vice presidential nominee doesn't count.
He's not going to be the vice presidential nominee,
he's running for it.
But if Hillary wins the Democratic nomination, you don't think it would be Joaquin Castro? Or did I have the wrong Castro? It's one of the two Castro brothers?
I think it depends what O'Malley says over the next year.
I think how hard he pushes her. Depends on how the campaign goes. It's very hard to say with certainty who's going to get chosen.
We'll just stay with the Democrats for one more minute. Has Hillary Clinton shown enough progressivism?
You phrase it in political terms.
Okay.
And it's easier to phrase for me in substantive terms. Well, wait a minute.
I have no idea what that means.
Well, it means that you analyze her positions programmatically, not as to whether there are MSNBC critics out there.
Has Hillary been lefty, Elizabeth Warren-y, Bernie Sanders-y enough for progressives?
No, but that doesn't mean that when it comes time to judge what she's going to do, she had a big agenda with a guy named Joseph Stiglitz, who's a progressive economist, very smart guy, put out a real concrete program that Hillary is heading towards. You can look at my HuffPost blog yesterday to see this thing discussed.
Delicately
the
done.
Point
Very nice, delicately handled.
That Hillary is not in the end going to be judged by whether she's Elizabeth Warren-y enough. She's going to be judged by what she says she's going to do for the country. And there, I think, she's going to be progressive.
And here's a question.
She just has to get through the Democratic primary. And right now, that doesn't look like a problem.
If she, let's say she started picking up the Elizabeth Warren mantra and started criticizing Wall Street, she's done it a little bit, but let's say she started sounding a lot more like Elizabeth Warren than we've heard from Hillary Clinton. Would you believe her? Is it campaign mode? This is what I think I need to say to get elected.
Campaign mode, I think, is what I think maybe she was that 35, 40 years ago. That's who she was. But I think as she was around politics for a long time and she's seen power in government, I think it tempered her a little bit. But she doesn't need to go that far left right now because, first of all, she's going to own those remarks after any primary. But she doesn't need to do it. There's no one breathing down her neck. O'Malley's certainly not breathing down her neck, and Sanders is not going to get a lot of attention.
Is that the problem for Hillary? With Jeb Bush, we don't know what he's saying just yet. With Hillary, do we believe what she's saying?
There's a whole chunk of the country that isn't going to vote for her no matter what she says.
Right.
There's a whole chunk of the country that's going to vote for her in spite of what she says. There's then a small 10, 12% of the electorate that's going to matter here. They're inclined towards her now, and they're more progressive than the Republicans are. She's got to.
Are they really inclined to her, or is it just that there's nobody else? There are no other better options, or no other options?
The polling shows that she remains respected and popular. That's what the polling shows. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Whether or not a Republican can come in and sneak a message through that somehow takes those votes away from her, all things are possible.
What's your sense? Is it that she's so popular, or that there are no other options?
It's that she's proven herself as a Democrat. She's been out there. She's had a lot of roles in this country. I mean, she's been a Secretary of State. She's been a United States Senator. Republicans respected her on the Hill. She worked hard. She's done a lot of things. There's also the factor, just to put it out there plainly, is that she's female, and there are a lot of women in the country that think it's time for a female president. That's going to be a good chunk of the electorate. I think both my daughters would be impacted by that quite a bit.
All right, we're going to take a break here on RFL. When we come back, the battle over Indian Point after the latest fire, yes, the latest fire at the nuclear power plant. There are renewed calls to close the place down. I'll talk to one of the prominent voices leading that charge.